Good morning, Mets fans, and happy Thursday. Welcome to Driving with Mr. Met. After doing pretty much nothing but complaining about a lack of action in the Mets offseason, we now have something to talk about, and that something is in the form of a new contract to an old face. I guess it's not fair to call Jay Bruce an old face because he's not old, but of course Jay Bruce was with the Mets for the latter half of 2016 and the first half or more of 2017. And as of last night, he's back for 3 more seasons to be the right fielder / first baseman for the New York Mets. Very, very team-friendly contract, in my opinion. 3 years, $39 million. The payout isn't even. He gets less this year and more in the following 2 seasons. But in general, I'm very happy about this. I really liked Jay Bruce. I thought he adapted himself very well to New York. He struggled when he first got here, came into his own as a Met last season, and finished 2017 with one of his best seasons in his career. So bringing him back on this kind of a contract, not a long-term commitment, not a lot of money, relatively speaking. Of course, any one of us would happily take $39 million over the course of our lifetimes, not to mention over 3 years, but in baseball terms, it's not a lot of money. And kudos to Sandy Alderson again. I don't know that anybody's been saying anything or mentioning anything about this, but Sandy always takes a lot of shit for his crypticness and his dry sense of humor and his seeming public-facing I don't care kind of attitude, what anybody thinks kind of attitude. But reality is what it is. Sandy's made some very smart moves, and he's played his hands in ways that have made him able to make moves like this and sign guys to these sorts of contracts. Now look, the free agent market being as completely stagnant as it is certainly helps matters, but having Bruce come back for this kind of a contract, having a guy who coming off the best season of his career come back for this kind of contract, that's good work. And I tip my cap to Sandy for not overpaying for a guy like Bruce earlier in the offseason. Do I think the Mets are done now? No. At least I hope not. Having Bruce back is great for 2 reasons. One, of course, the Mets do need an opening day right fielder. This also, at this point in time, most definitely means that Juan Lagares will be the opening day center fielder while Michael Conforto recovers from his surgery. And when he returns, Michael Conforto will be the everyday center fielder for the Mets. Now, Conforto's not a center fielder, all right? And I'm not going to talk a lot about this today, but this defensive alignment in the outfield was a concern last year for me, and it's going to remain a concern for the next 2 seasons or so, or longer. But we'll see how that plays out. Back to Bruce, it shores up right field for opening day, and it also provides an insurance policy for Dom Smith. In the event that Dom Smith struggles mightily out of the gate and has to spend more time in AAA, Jay Bruce would most likely slide in to become the everyday first baseman for the Mets. And going back to Juan Lagares, who's going to be the center fielder for opening day, once again, presently speaking, with the roster as it's currently constructed, Lagares has a big opportunity to prove himself worthy of being in the lineup every day. Looking at some of his off-season pictures, he looks like he's gotten himself into great shape. He's bulked up a bit. Let's see what happens with Juan. Let's see if he can stay on the field. You know how I feel about him. I think he's one of the best defenders in baseball. Certainly one of the top 2 center fielders. I think he and Ender and Ciarte are like 1 and 2 out in the outfield. But regardless, this is a chance for him to play his way into the lineup. So let's say the scenario being that Dom Smith struggles. Dom is young. He's going to struggle. It's going to happen. But let's say Dom struggles really, really bad through April and maybe even into May. And at that point in time, Conforto's just coming back from his surgery. He's getting himself sort of cleaning himself of the rust and getting himself into the lineup every day. At the same time, Juan Lagares gets off to a hot start. It's not that hard to figure out what the solution is. You slot Bruce in at first base every day. You slot Conforto in at right field every day, and you leave Juan Lagares in center field to be the everyday guy there. But it's all going to hinge on what kind of start to the season Lagares has. So, back to what's next. As I mentioned before, I don't think the Mets are done. I do think that they still need to make some sort of an acquisition to shore up the infield. And as much as earlier this week I was talking about Mike Moustakas making so much sense, now with Bruce in the lineup every day for the next 3 years, I don't know actually how much sense it makes to go out and get Moustakas, who's another lefty. With Bruce and Conforto, you've already got 2 lefties in power positions in the lineup. If you go out and get Moustakas, that's 3, and that makes a really lefty-centric lineup, which is easy to pitch around. Now, of course, it hasn't stopped anything in the past for the Mets. You know, they've had that with Duda and Bruce and Conforto last year. But I don't like the idea of being so, not one-dimensional, but so reliant on the lefty bats in the heart of the lineup. And that's the only concern now I have with going out and getting Moustakas, who, again, I think would be a great fit. And if the market continues to play out the way it is, the Mets might be able to get him for a contract similar or not that different from the one that they just signed to Jay Bruce, and structure it in a way like they did Cespedes' contract, which would give him an opt-out after 1 year or 2 years, maybe give him 2 years or something, and then let Moustakas sort of gamble on himself having a good season or 2 before he opts out and tests the free agent market again. Just an option, and it's out there for him. So if not Moustakas, it's looking like Todd Frazier is the other name that's being tossed around. And really the ultimate question ends up becoming, do the Mets feel more comfortable with Asdrubal Cabrera at third base or at second base? And that's where all these other rumors about Josh Harrison and earlier in the offseason Ian Kinsler and Jason Kipnis, all these being second baseman type players, it would be nice to sort of figure out where you want Cabrera to play every day, and then go out and fill the need of wherever you don't want him to play, you know. But I guess you could look at it the other way and say, hey, let's get the best available player at either second base or third base, and then Cabrera can slot into either of the, you know, whichever one the new guy doesn't play. So there are some options. That's a good thing. But I'd love to see the Mets continue to improve the team. How much budget is left over is a good question. I think 13 million or 10 million or something goes to Bruce this year. How much is left to spend? Is it 10? Is it 13? Is it a different number? Is Sandy playing his cards close to his chest like he usually does and lying about what his budget really is? We don't really know, but we'll find out, because I'd love to see the Mets continue this. I'd love to see them go out and bring Addison Reed back and acquire that infield presence and shore up the second base / third base position. Well, what's going to happen? We'll find out. Stay tuned. So it was good to come back with something interesting to talk about. That's why I went on long this morning. But it's a good day, and despite the fact that right now it's looking like the 2017 Mets reincarnate for 2018, it's all going to come down to health. And right now, everybody's healthy, so that's a good thing, and it makes me happy. So let's revisit this sometime either tomorrow or early next week, see where things stand. I will be back with a video once there's some new news that breaks, or in a few days, whichever happens first. Until then, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. You can follow me on Twitter at Mr_Met. And as always, let's go Mets.